I'm Myke Shrews.
And I'm Tivis.
And you're listening to
The Munster Cast.
Episode 31. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Munster Cast, the podcast where we watch and talk about the Munsters.
I swear your mixer is trying to deafen me.
Kill you? Yeah, that was really loud. As always, I am here with my co-host Tivis. Tivis, how you doing today? Besides your ears,
I got a new bag of jelly beans. I'm doing good.
Awesome. So today, guys, we are going to talk about two brand new episodes. Well, not brand new episodes, brand new to other podcast episodes.
Brand new to me.
And before we dive into that, let's get into some dirty work real quick. We would like you, if you enjoy listening to the podcast, please leave us some reviews, likes, comments, all that fun stuff, anywhere you listen and or watch. Speaking of, you can watch us on the MUNSTERCAST YouTube channel. And you get to see our pretty ugly faces and Tivis break down every time I finally get him to crack. As I did last week.
Probably won't happen this week. I hope.
So everywhere else you can find us on social media at the MunsterCast. That is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the MunsterCast. And you can email us any of your Munster stories, questions, concerns, anything like that. Or if you just want to be a guest or know someone who would want to be a guest on our show, you can email us at themunstercast@outlook.com. And I think that about does it for all of that stuff. So, Tivis, take it away.
I don't think there's any significant news this week, is there?
No.
Not that I've seen. No.
Nothing changing. Nothing.
Nope. Daniel, oh my God, help me out here. New grandpa. Robick. He did an interview with a radio station, which is pretty cool. We shared it on our Twitter and I believe Facebook. So if you haven't checked that out, you go ahead. I put the timestamp when it starts, but it's a cool interview with him that not only goes over the Munsters, but his career as in general.
Yeah.
So awesome. It's a cool listen. All right, let's get into this first episode then. Before we start, I'm going to say that this is heavily dealing with Native Americans in the 60s. So prepare for some cultural insensitivities. We're going to do our best to avoid them. If I miss it, I'm sorry.
I really will say, though, I don't think they've done anything different than what The Simpsons have ever done, to be honest.
No, but...
And The Simpsons was
around for a decade before we started caring about people. So,
yeah. So,
but yeah, I will say there was a chance for this to be way worse than it actually is. I will say that. So, this one's called. Did I write this wrong, or is it actually Heap Herman?
Heap. Crap, my browser disappeared. Oh, there it is. It is Big Heap Herman.
Big Heap Herman. Okay, so I did write that in reverse because I brain died apparently. Season 2, episode 18. Let's see, aired January 20th, 1966, written by Joe Connolly with Bob Mosier and Norm Liebman involved, of course, directed by Ezra Stone once again. This guy is probably going to have more Munsters credits to his name than anyone else. Guests this week, we got Ned Romero as Wonga. He played Chips in Shane, which was a 1966 TV series. Okay. Sergeant Joe Rivera on Dan August, which ran from 70 to 71. And he is a Oh my God, we went over this before we started. Chitimacha roots, that Native American tribe.
I'll close it. Chitimacha, yeah.
Okay.
At least that's how it looks like it's pronounced.
Yeah, that is one I am never heard of, so I apologize if I am way off. But it is a name, and I suck at those, so on brand for me. Len Lesser as Manikou.
Manikou?
I don't know. You may remember him as Uncle Leo from Seinfeld, or Garvin in Everyone Loves Raymond. Both very beloved uncles on two long-running sitcoms. So, and that was actually his big, like, memorable role, was way in the 90s. Unfortunately, this guy had a very long career. He was actually a World War II Army veteran that served in China, Burma, and India. I highly recommend going and check out his career. It's fascinating. Felix Locker as
Hawatuma,
yeah. So he actually didn't begin acting until he was 73. But before becoming an actor, he held over 100 copyrights and patents related to unique mapping systems that he would use when lecturing military officers and insurance salesmen. He played Mr. Johnson in Star Trek.
Neo G?
Yes. He's actually the earliest born actor to ever be in Star Trek. And is one of only 11 actors to be born in the 19th century to appear in the series. Just some little facts that I found in his bio. Richard Jury as the Man. I honestly didn't see anything that stood out to me, but he had a pretty good career as well. Sally, Freya as the. Okay, this is how it's actually listed in the credits. The Indian Girl. This is her second ever acting credit, and she plays multiple roles over 18 episodes of Dynasty, which ran from 81 to 86.
Yeah.
So, and that is the guest list for this one.
Okay. You got anything special on anybody else or no? For this? No. Okay. All right. So we are doing Big Heap Herman. January 20th, 1966, as Tivis previously stated, the Munsters are heading for a vacation in Buffalo Valley when Herman gets off for a rest stop at Indian Flats. He wanders into the village of a Native American tribe where he is mistaken for an ancient spirit. Dun, dun, dun. That's just become a thing I do now after I do the synopsis, apparently.
I know I don't normally add in like little factoids about the actors, but I wanted to see if any of them were actually of Native American descent. And also, I know you're a big Trekkie, so I found that information. I was like, oh, he'd probably like this. So let's dive into the episode. We open with the family also, and I love this scene, by the way. Sitting.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
I'm trying to find my notes again. It appeared on my screen.
He started shaking and having a mad look. I'm like, what, do we lose the recording again? So we open with the family all sitting at a dining table in the dark with one candle lit in the middle. Herman is telling them that he has summoned them all there for their annual ritual. Like, I loved this scene. This is so good.
And it's set up looking like it's going to be like some weird seance or something that they just.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. They're going to talk into like Uncle whatever. Well, who was the one that I forget the name, but when they went to the that like barren resort
Valley or whatever.
Yeah. They're like, oh, it's just Uncle whatever making all that noise. Let's see. He says the family's been doing this for 100 years, and they will deal with it the good old-fashioned American way.
Democratic way.
American way, yeah.
It's a democratic way, yeah.
Well, they also said American way.
American democratic, and then they said something else way, which is just, as we find out.
Yeah, at this point, I'm a little confused. Like, what is going on? So he reminds everyone that they need to keep good sportsmanship and be level-headed no matter the result. He then opens a box in front of him, and I realize what is going on. Well, not fully, but he begins reading off the papers inside, and the first vote is for the beach. And I realize this is for their annual vacation spot. And I'm like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind this idea.
I was thinking about that too when I was watching. I was like, we should do this for our vacations. Just like, so make it maybe consolidate it down to like, here's 3 choices. I would take it a step further, and I would literally print up a ballot and everything. This is what you get to choose from.
This would probably have to be including the extended family for me, with my sisters and my nieces and nephew.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. So we get 4 votes for the beach, and he stops and refuses to read the last one. And Marilyn goes, "Well, aren't you going to pick it up?" He goes, "No, because it's mine, and it's for Buffalo Valley. And if I can't go there, I don't want to go anywhere." And starts smacking his hand down on the table, breaking their ballot box.
Yeah.
And then he begins claiming that he wants a recount because the election was fixed.
Yeah.
He begins.
It was fixed.
Yeah. Lily gets up in a huff and says, now that the Democratic way was upheld, she hopes everyone enjoys Buffalo Valley, and turns on the candles before sitting back down. Herman's like, "Oh, yeah, they sure will." And as usual, it smirks away like a jerk. So that means he's done this for other years.
Yeah. Well, remember, he is the head of the household to this,
Yeah. How many vacations has he ruined, though?
Yeah, well, I mean, they go to the beach all the time. Like, we literally seen them in the beach like 3 or 4 times now. So they go to the beach all the time.
Last time they went, he got picked up by a Russian fishing boat. So
I don't blame him, though, for wanting to go somewhere else after that, especially.
He had a good time. Lily was the one who was angry.
Yeah, and he had to probably deal with it for 5 months after that.
Marilyn says that she can't go because she has exams, and also there's no men in Buffalo Valley. Lily suggests that Herman wants her.
This pissed me off. If Marilyn wasn't going to go in the first place,
why is she voting?
Why'd she vote? Herman was totally right. The election was rigged.
I mean, it still would have been 3-1.
Demand a recount for him. Some of those votes could go missing.
Lily suggests that Herman wants her to be a nice, rich, handsome buffalo before glaring at him. And that is the end of the opening. Is this the fastest opening yet?
I think the other one we talk about this today is going to be the fastest one.
Really?
I believe so. Yeah.
What is the other? Oh, wow. Okay. That is a short paragraph. You might be right. Because I remember one of these being really short. Yeah, this opening cracked me up. Just the whole, because we get like a little spooky look, usual.
Yeah,
you know how I love the Frankenstein type openings, and
then
it turns out that they're picking their vacation spot in a way that I don't find that bad of an idea. All right,
it's a fun idea. I would say that's a fun idea, but in this household, this is a hierarchy, so they just do whatever the hell we tell them.
So, in other words, no matter what your wife picks.
No, we usually go about the same. I really just don't care, so I just enforce the hierarchy rules, or should I say we're more of a dictatorship?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the two of us, so we really just like, hey, where do you feel like going this year?
So you go wherever she decides. Gotcha.
We discussed it. It's like, how you feel about this place? No, not this year. What about this place? We kind of just went there. Go back and forth.
Yeah.
So this year we're going to DC. I've been there since 2019. I'm excited. That place is huge. Anyone who goes there, prepare at least a week and you won't even see half of the stuff there.
I think it's going to take even longer right now, with all the stuff going on.
Oh, dude, I don't even want to think about traffic over. We're getting way off topic, but traffic in DC and Maryland are some of the craziest, like, insane drivers I have ever seen. I almost got ran off the road by a FedEx truck who was in the wrong lane.
This is why you take a taxi, Tivis.
Oh, I'm renting a car. I'm not risking mine.
Let's dive back into this. So we come back from the credits onto the train. Yeah. And we find out that Herman only booked 2 beds instead of 4 for 4 people, for him, Grandpa, Lily, and Eddie. And
he got the excursion rate.
I don't think this is a bad idea, though. Like, you would think Herman and Lily would share bunk, and Grandpa and Eddie, whatever.
Yeah, except Lily's pissed.
I've literally slept in a bed like with my grandparents because we were camping and shit like that. Well, I guess it's not a bed, but still, like, it's nothing. I don't think that was a bad idea. I thought that was a smart idea on his behalf, because you're saving money on the travel to have more money to spend on the actual vacation itself.
Yeah, the flaw in the plan is he ruined where Lily wanted to go, so he didn't factor in how bad she was.
Yeah. So she says that him and Grandpa are sleeping together, and her and Eddie will take the bottom bunk.
Yeah, they send Herman and Grandpa to the top bunk.
Herman and Grandpa on the top. I'm like, wait, what? Why? So Grandpa gets on the top bunk. And Herman tries shoving his suitcase on the top up there. And Al, like, shoves the suitcase back at Herman. And, like, you see Fred's nose just bend over through it. And I was like, how did they not mess up the makeup? Because it looked like it was, like, actually putting a lot of pressure on his face. It's crazy.
And while this is going on, Lily walks away with her luggage to presumably put it in a luggage cart. So he shoves it out there, pins Grandpa to the wall. Grandpa shoves it back at him, and he's like, watch it.
And then he finally gets it up there. And then he's like trying to figure out how to get up to the top bunk.
Yeah, they have like this little wooden ladder.
Yeah. Which none of the other bunks had that, by the way. If you looked around,
I think you're supposed to, like, everyone's sharing it.
Oh, you move it around. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
they can't anymore.
How do you get down then safely?
You just jump down. It's not that high.
What if they're not, like?
I mean, you're gonna wake the person on the bottom bunk, but
if they're not necessarily able to jump down, not everybody.
Then you shouldn't have picked the top bunk.
Herman basically destroys the ladder by trying to step on it, move it around. He just grabs it and throws it on the ground. And then he jumps up into the bed this time.
Yeah, he does like a back jump, and
I was thinking he was gonna fall right through the bed.
Nope. Instead, he punches his head out the top of the train.
Yep.
And he's up there. He's Grandpa, pull me in. We're coming up on a tunnel. Which I don't think he has to worry, because clearly there's a part next to him that's higher. So I think he would have been fine.
Yeah, he would have been fine. But maybe the wind in the tunnel would have ended up making his head pop off, because his head pops off.
Yeah, he does lose his head a lot.
Yeah. And then Grandpa pulls him back in, and he's like, I should have got a pet permit or a livestock permit or whatever.
Yeah, livestock permit.
And he's like, but why? He's like, because I've never traveled with a jackass before. It's like, damn, Grandpa.
The stuff that we used to be able to get away with that we can't say anymore.
Are you kidding me? I was just like, before we started recording, Xena was on TV, and Xena Warrior Princess, for people who don't know. But that was on. I was watching it, and they're just like throwing them around like bitch and all these ass and stuff. I was like, I don't remember them saying bitch and Xena when I was watching this as a kid.
I don't remember that being allowed on TV.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, that was like Xena and Hercules were like, what was 90s? It like UPN? It was on.
Were they UPN? I thought they were Fox.
Fox, one of the two. But I didn't remember them being allowed to say bitch on TV back in the 90s. And
no, I thought that was always a banned word.
Got away with it. I mean, they did say bitch in the Ants movie too, by the way. Stallone's like character goes on and says, "Stop being a little bitch."
Yeah, that was a movie in theaters.
That was a kid's movie. It was PG.
Yeah, they always throw in some kind of swear word.
I don't know.
Well, the swear word is probably 13. All right. Anyway. So Lily returns with a lit candle, which I'm not sure is allowed on a train full of curtains. I was so worried we were going to have another set fire.
Yeah.
She forgets the bunk they're staying on is number 10 or the bunks and decides to just open one.
Peek her head into one as go on.
Yeah. Fortunately, he's deep in reading The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which if I knew Edgar was, as much of a fan of, Usher, which is to say I'm not at all, I would respect the guy more. I even have it here. Wait for Myke to shake his head. A terrible joke.
Crickets. Where's my cricket sound effect?
Yeah,
where is it?
I know. I know.
Oh, wait.
So this guy's reading aloud to this book, which is totally inconsiderate to the people in that room, by the way, in the other bunks. And he's like, I don't know about you, but when I read, Victoria gets mad at me a lot because I'm like in it. And she's like talking to me and I don't hear anything. So I'm zoned out. And then she like shoves me and I'm like, wait, what? Where'd you come from? That's what this guy is like. He is in this horror book. As Lily pops her head in, scares the crap out of him and he jumps out the window. That dude's dead.
Oh, yeah. That was my note. I was like, he has to be dead, right? Like, she literally just killed that guy for no reason.
Oh, yeah. That's
either that or how far is this from the stop when they make it? Maybe he becomes like, oh no, he'd still be dead. He's just dead.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's weird. He must have missed his stop. Yeah. You scared the crap out of him, lady.
Then we go back to Herman and Grandpa in bed,
who are sleeping head to foot, so they can't lock in.
Yeah,
that's a Scrubs joke.
Yeah,
I like Scrubs.
So apparently, Grandpa has his foot in Herman's nightgown pocket.
Yeah, which Herman takes up over half the bed as is.
Yeah,
add in his luggage, which Grandpa's basically using as a blanket.
Yeah. So the whole time Grandpa's complaining about not having space. Why doesn't Grandpa just turn into a bat or something and just cuddle up in the corner?
Well, last time he did that overnight, he got stuck as a wolf.
And
they don't want to deal with that again.
But he's not turning into a wolf that time. He would be turning into a bat.
Yeah, but he might be stuck as a bat.
I don't care. He'd have space and he wouldn't be complaining.
Then he wouldn't be happy. This is Grandpa.
He's never happy unless
exactly. So Herman said he's like, I need a drink of water, and gets out of bed.
Yeah.
So he goes over to this like weird faucet that's like a push.
Mm-hmm.
And it's barely like little tiny drops are coming out. So it's going to take him forever to fill up the cup. And he's just mad. And he's like,
well, the water doesn't need it. Like the water's just gone at that point. And he's like, someone took all the water. They took all the water. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. I'll kill him.
Yeah. And he's yelling this down the aisle towards all the beds. And the train suddenly like jolts and he grabs the curtain and like rips all of them off and stands up roaring like, this was a Frankenstein scene. It wasn't at the beginning, but I loved it. And then he starts yelling, I'll kill him. I'll kill him. I'll kill him again.
Yeah.
And everyone books it.
Yeah, they all take off, but then it's just Herman, Grandpa, Lily, and Eddie just left in the whole car by themselves. Which hey, by the time you got all the beds.
Yeah, I was gonna say more space.
Yeah. So that works out, right?
Then we get to the next morning where they're in a passenger car eating breakfast all by themselves, and Eddie wonders why they're in there, not the dining car.
Yeah. And apparently all the passengers got together last night and decided that it would be best if they had the whole car to themselves to eat breakfast in.
How generous.
How generous. The peaceful, quiet, VIP treatment right there.
I mean,
go on.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was going to say, and then Herman is reading out of his travel almanac, is what he calls it, right? Was it considered an almanac?
I don't remember.
He's
reading like a flyer to me.
And he's trying to read to the family about the valley that they're going to. Mm-hmm. And I think they pretend to fall asleep.
I think they actually do fall asleep. Why do I get the feeling, since we know that he wants to go to Buffalo Valley every year, he reads this to them every year. They're probably sick of hearing it.
I wasn't sure if they actually fell asleep or if they just pretended to fall asleep so he'd leave them alone.
No, I think they actually fell asleep. Because why else? Because it wouldn't make sense for what's about to happen otherwise.
Yeah. Then Herman's like, all right, well, we're stopped. We must there must be like a newsstand or something around. Go
Oh, wait. Hang on. While he's reading that, I wrote this down. He's like, isn't that interesting? And he goes, sure, Pop, if you say so. Which is very reminiscent of trips I've taken with my dad, who knows way too much weird facts about history and areas.
You mean you don't like to hear about the giant, ball of yarn that's in the middle of...
Oh, no, this is more of like which general of the Revolutionary War died here.
Oh, yeah. The remains are scattered across this field.
Yeah, you can find bones and swords over there in that cornfield. Cool.
Yeah. So Herman ends up getting up and going to look for a newsstand to where he can find a new reading source, a paper, something, anything. Because he thinks that they're stopped for like a mail pickup or delivery or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which trains do or used to do.
What's the name of this platform?
Indian Flats is the name of this platform.
Yes, it is.
And it's called that. I think they tell us why I lay there. Right. Oh no, because it's just the land. It's just the land there.
Yeah.
Right.
There's really
like
no reason to call it. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Or is it supposed to be like their tourist thing? Because they do talk about that.
It is the tourist spot, but it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, the train stops there in case people want to go.
Yeah. So, he goes up to this building. He's like, okay, so it's got to be in here. He busts the door down. There's no one inside. Mm-hmm. And it's a tiny shack. So he's like, well, it must be on the other side then. It's the back wall. Who could have guessed? Of the empty shack you just busted the door down to.
Yeah.
Then he decides to just sit down and continue reading his little booklet. Like, dude, no, train.
Yeah, he ends up falling asleep and waking up as he hears train.
The whole time he's like reading, you can hear the train tracks as the train's moving already.
And the train is gone. Yep. He comes to. And then he's like, damn it. Basically like, darn it.
Darn. Our second darn in this episode, actually.
Yeah. And then he just like starts walking off into the desert. I want to say it's a desert.
Don't lick that electrical outlet.
I'm not going to.
Not you, the cat. She's sniffing it intently and she's dumb.
Unique kitty. So
special kitty. Stop it.
He starts walking off into the desert following this sign. I don't even recall what the sign said because it really didn't jump out at me. And
it just said village 6 miles that way.
Okay, that's what it says. All right. And then we go to what's at the village before we ever get there. And this is where we get introduced to the Indian tribe that they have sitting there. Basically like super stereotypical.
Yeah.
This is worse than like Adam Sandler's like one movie that he did.
I still haven't watched that one, but I remember the stories of it being made. Yeah. But there's a twist.
Yeah.
It turns out they're practicing to put on a show for what the tourists think they're like. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's a unique spin.
Yeah. So it was cool because they're dressed in like the traditional wares and everything, but it's because they're all in like some sort of costume type thing. Mm-hmm. So everything they're doing is for a theatrical purpose, which is cool.
Yeah. And the character Wango, I just call him the producer because he's like got the checklist and telling them all what to do. So, mm-hmm. He's there. He's like, you gotta put a little more flourish into it, man. But then an elder, whose name I forgot, Powatuma, mm-hmm. Powatuma, begins doing like, the very same stereotypical stuff. So I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Well, I think it's supposed to be because he's like the eldest one. Like his mindset is
still
not necessarily going to that, but he's seeing everything as the theatrical stuff. He's seeing that, and I think it's supposedly bringing back like flashbacks of like stories he was told as a child or some shit. Mm-hmm. That's what I gathered from it.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, he begins telling him about how they used to flourish in that area, and the producer is like, "Yeah, that was a long time ago."
Yeah, he's like, those are all long time ago stories.
Yeah. The only thing we have going on now is tourists and Medicare. Oh boy. And yeah, I don't know. This is just an awkward one for me because maybe I'm just a little more hyper aware because I actually my great grandma was full-blooded Cherokee. I don't consider myself a member of the tribe. I don't practice their beliefs. I don't anything like that. So I'm not saying that, but I'm still empathetic to them. So it's a weird one for me to talk about. So the I forgot the name already. The elder starts saying that the spirit will return from the desert, and both the younger guys are skeptical. The old man's like, look, what was it? His father or his grandfather had a vision and carved it into that totem.
Great grandfather, I believe it was.
Was it
had the vision and carved it into his into the top of the totem?
Yeah, which
what their god said would
the spirit would look like.
Yeah.
It kind of resembles Herman, I guess. Not really.
It even had a scar on the head.
Yeah, it just it
resembled him enough.
I guess
it's still supposed to be like a wooden.
At least it wasn't his exact face. I'll give him that.
Yeah. So then we go back to
the train.
The train, yeah. And they're like, where the hell is Herman at?
Yeah, they've searched the entire train, no sign of him.
Yeah. Can't find them anywhere. And they find out from a conductor or one of the people on the train that they saw someone matching the description getting off at Indian Flats. So
and Eddie's like, why did they say something 2 hours ago?
Yeah. It was a 2-hour stop ago. And then somehow we go back to Herman, but I'm curious, how the hell did they get the train to turn around?
No, they didn't. They got off and got on a different one. But
did they?
Yeah, Lily's like, oh, the conductor just came out of the broom closet. So he saw Herman and hid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when Lily says we're going to get off on the next platform and catch a train back there to look for him. Eddie then asks what they will do if they can't find him, and Grandpa says, well, isn't that obvious? We're going to cash in his return trip ticket. And Lily, like, she's like nodding, and then as he continues talking, he's like, wait a minute, what? No.
Well, it's because she knows that he has to go and pay the bills. Ear up the rent.
So yeah, now we cut to Herman wandering through the desert with a facial expression that kind of just suggests he's a bit bored, honestly.
Yeah. And then he sees and notices like the village down below, and he's excited. He's worried it's a mirage, but he's excited. Yeah. And he runs down there, and then the people all see him, and they're like, oh, we found the blah blah blah. I forget the name of their god or whatever the thing is that they.
I didn't even with how horrible I am with names. I don't know if it's real or not, so I'm not going to write it down.
So they're like, we found him, and then of course Herman is going to stand right next to the totem pole.
Yeah, the entire place is like deserted when he walks in, and he kind of just backs up against the totem, and he's like, where is everyone? And that's when the elder walks out with the two young men and see him standing next to it, and the two are like, oh, the resemblance is uncanny. Maybe he's on to something.
I do like that the whole time though it's cool because it's not, I don't find this necessarily degrading or anything at all to Native Americans because of the way they play it off, which is cool.
There's a lot worse out there for sure.
But so they are talking about it and like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, the legend says that if he marries into the tribe that, you know, we'll have great prospering harvests and all this and that. And the guy's like, you really wait, we're gonna let this green-faced dude like really marry into the tribe? And I'm like, well, it's not gonna be legal, but it will be great for a show for the tourists.
Yeah.
So these guys still don't actually believe like the old legends or anything like that. They just think that it's going to help bring in more ticket sales and stuff to watch them reenact this supposed marriage that will create perfect harvest and everything like that.
Yeah. We skipped ahead a little bit here. But
I know I did, but I wanted to say it all.
Yeah. Their crops will grow and everything will be cool.
Yeah.
Word I'm no longer saying.
Cool?
Yeah. No, he says another word. Cool something. I'm not saying it again.
What's it start with?
E.
E?
The producer, he's like, you know, hey, it might help. And even if it doesn't, we could stage this ceremony 3 or 4 times a day and make some more cash from the tourists. And
type it to me so I can say it because I'm curious of what the fucking
he says cool, daddy.
Oh.
Yeah. But before this, we get a quick shot at the platform where Grandpa and Lily are beginning their search at the sign for the village. And Eddie finds Herman's boring magazine, and Lily gives a speech.
Oh.
Neither blinding sun nor burning desert sand shall keep us from the swift pursuit of our beloved Herman.
And Grandpa's just like, great. Now your mom's all so crazy. She's quoting the post office.
She's doing commercial for the post office.
Oh, shit. Yeah. He completely in this episode, Grandpa completely makes like Lily seem like she's cuckoo crazy.
I mean, isn't she a little?
Yeah.
She puts up with Herman.
And by the end of this, I wouldn't want to mess with her.
After the end of the last couple, she decks him twice.
Yeah.
So Herman is getting his face painted by a woman as he picks up a mirror to check himself out, and he's very pleased with his new look. Yeah. And he jokes about taking a peek at his fiance, and that he took a peek at his fiance, and that this will be a real fun thing before nudging the woman doing the paint and laughing. She naturally gives no reaction because what can you say to that?
Yeah.
So the families wander around the desert looking for Herman when they come across the village.
So there's pictures of this episode, by the way, in color.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Fred in color with the makeup looks really cool. Like,
I'm sure,
because he has the headdress on and everything like that. It looks really cool because the way his the way Fred's face is formed and stuff, I'm sure he probably had some Native American or whatever blood in him. Most of us do. But like it looks like he's, because of the blue makeup too, like he's a ghost for the tribe almost. And it's really cool. I just pulled the picture up to see, and maybe I'll drop it in the video here. So we'll see. Anyways.
So yeah, the family come upon the village, and Herman's about to get the crap beat out of him again because Lily says no matter what or where or what he's doing, that he's thinking of his family. She knows it. Cut to Herman.
He's not. They always do that.
He never is.
They always set him up. Like Herman is only thinking of his family when his family is around. Like, let's be honest.
When they go missing.
Yeah.
When he's missing, he couldn't care less. When they're missing, he worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, cut to Herman in a headdress now with a jacket of some kind. I think it might be a blanket. I can't tell.
It's not an Afghan. What the heck do they call those things?
I am not the person to ask.
Oh, I spent a few weeks on a reservation. You'd think I'd remember all these damn terms. Ah, shit.
That does look nice. I think that's a recoloring though.
Yeah, that is a recoloring. I just sent Tivis the photo of Fred in there. So, yeah, it's gonna annoy me now that I don't remember.
Look it up. I watch this stuff with subtitles on, and the elder and the woman begin speaking in tribal language, as the subtitles put it. Again, I don't know if it was a real tribal language or not. So let us know if you do. But Herman just simply repeats what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then he begins playing patty cake with his fiance. Eddie spots him. Grandpa's face is pure glee during this as he knows what's about to happen. And Lily goes from shock to I'm going to kill him. They walk up and stand near. Did you find it, by the way?
All I'm finding is they're just calling them Indian, quote unquote, blankets or Navajo blankets, which we don't know what tribe this is. So you can't even say that. So,
yeah.
Because they're just the same thing as like the Mexican natives wear or make as well. If you ever go to Mexico, people do check it out. There's a lot of native Mexicans, which are basically like our Native Americans. They live in like the mountains and stuff. Well, some of them live in the mountains. I don't want to put all of them there, but some of them like live in the mountains and stuff like that. And they make these really cool rugs and different textiles and shit like that. And they sell them off into like the different markets and stuff in the cities of Mexico. And it's really cool to see. Like every time I go there, we're always looking at them, and my wife always is buying something from them just to support, the
locals
for them. Yeah.
Oh, support your local economy always.
Well, not even just locals, but to support that culture, because they're not living in necessarily the same environment as the locals in the city too. So
yeah,
Mexico's a completely different thing than the States. For people, if you really want to visit Mexico, go anywhere but Cancun and you'll see some real Mexican stuff. So yeah,
that's cool.
You'll also be told to get the fuck out of their country, like I was, because I'm white as hell and don't speak Spanish that well.
I don't speak Spanish at all, so I have to rely on my wife. Yeah. Where was I? Oh, yeah. They go up next to this kid, and the producer, like, he's smiling away and notice them walk up, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, hey, cool." He's like, "Wait a minute, what?" And the grandpa goes, "We're friends of the groom," and he's like, "Okay." So the ceremony gets underway, and there's more tribal language. Mm-hmm. And Lily is furious that he's actually getting married. So she grabs this bow and arrow from this kid next to him with a suction cup on it and just shoots Herman in the forehead. Yeah. Grandpa's impressed, and Herman's in shock. So when he sees where it came from, like, Herman gets a look of like, my family. Yeah. But Lily doesn't quite feel the same at that moment. So she tells him furiously that they need to get on the next train before grabbing the arrow on his forehead and pulling him along.
Yeah, it's kind of like the take on your aunt pulling your ear. Well, I said aunt because that's who did it to me. Like pulling your ear and dragging you by the ear and stuff. Yeah, basically the take of it, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah. And then Grandpa makes some insensitive remark about Lily's rage to Eddie, and they follow.
What does he say here? He said,
I didn't even write it down because I don't want to repeat it.
Oh, damn, Tivis. What the hell are we doing, man?
If people want to know, they can watch the episode like they should have. The producer is extremely disappointed that they lost Herman, and his friend's like, well, if you're sad, imagine how he feels. He points to the old man. It's like, that guy really believed in the old legend. Meanwhile, you go to the old man, and he's like, why did the God send us that man in the first place? He's like, that is not what I expected.
Man, or whatever. Yeah. It's so mean to Herman, man.
So, now we're back at home after the vacation, and they're explaining to Lily, who is confused about hearing their adventure.
Yeah. And they're sitting at this table too, which after she's done talking stuff, we find out or no, it's not a table. They're sitting on the couch, but Herman has like his suitcase in his lap or something like that. Yeah. And we find out that
they must have just got home.
But also her and Herman are like arm wrestling, and she just beats him like instantly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is Lily stronger than Herman, or is Herman the stronger husband by letting his wife always win?
Oh, Herman didn't let her win.
Only let her win.
But he explains this as basically, they stroked his ego and gave him a giant head by telling him how important he was. Yeah. And he's like, it's the first time I've ever felt important. Bullshit, first off. But Lily isn't happy to hear this. And she goes, Grandpa buys into it first, and Lily's like, "Look, I feel bad that you feel that way. Why didn't you tell me?" He's like, "Oh, it's look, I couldn't have cared for that girl anyway because I already have the best woman at home waiting for me." Like, no, Lily, no, he deserves a good smack.
What did he do wrong?
He tried to get met. Well, okay.
Oh, it was a play. It was a play to him because he even mentions that he wanted to be in show business because the Native American guy says, oh, he was excited. He was ecstatic.
But they also explained to him that it was supposed to help the tribe with prosperity. So he didn't care whether it was real or not.
But he wasn't actually marrying anyone. There was no legality to any of it.
Still, what are you doing? Scat. This is the first time she's not left this room. All right, where was I? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and they call, the arm wrestling, and then they laugh at the end after she beats him. Yeah. So everything's all good between them again, and then it's over, and thank God.
It wasn't a bad episode. I thought it was going to be when it first started setting up. I was like, oh no, Tivis is gonna I'm gonna break Tivis, but no, just by being a dick.
I've seen way worse from this era.
Yeah,
in terms of handling Native American portrayal, I'll give them credit there, but it was still uncomfortable. I'm like, especially like if we weren't talking about it, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But I'm just like, I don't want to mention a lot of this stuff.
That's perfectly fine. Everything they did, I thought, was done decently, especially for the 60s when we know there was a lot more racial stuff going on about Native Americans at that time with all the Westerns and things like that predated this too and came after this time period. So I don't know. I thought they did a pretty decent job of having fun with it. The whole Indian thing, I understand, like we didn't get away from that until recently, really. Like probably
2000s. I think people finally started changing.
So because my family, like my great grandfather was in the tribe, like he was like 100% Native American, and like he used to go around calling himself Indian. He's just like, yeah, I'm Indian. But of course, he died before 2000. So, but my grandpa still says it and everything. It's an older thing too. I think it's going to be harder for some people to get away from it. And I thought, I enjoyed this episode because I thought that they didn't take it and make it a big joke like they could have. Like it was still funny, but it wasn't like funny while like demeaning an entire population,
Yeah. I'd be curious to hear what the listeners think.
I'm curious to hear what other people think about this episode. I'm sure there's probably articles about, oh my God, this episode is blah, blah, blah. And no,
there's all kinds of articles. They look at old stuff. We got to separate the time it was made and today.
You told me though, remember this. Nick at Night, the only episode or TV. It was Nick at Night. The only one they took off was the one about abuse. So this one clearly wasn't that bad in their eyes.
No,
because it's not. I really appreciated the way they handled it. And even as like a filmmaker and stuff too, like I understand where it can become an issue when you're dealing with any group, I would say, that hasn't necessarily been treated properly as it should have been. Just because there's so much has changed in just the last 20 years, since we were in high school and shit like that. Even
I agree with that. Wait, 20 years? It's only been 12 for me.
Shut up. I don't even know what year it is anymore. 2022, almost 20 years. Bears for me.
Damn, you're old.
Fuck you, man. You know what? I'm gonna make you break in this next episode then.
Oh boy, looking forward to that. But yeah, there's parts of this episode that I enjoy. Like the whole family trip thing and Herman being, way too into the area's, facts. That took me back to being a kid. I liked the beginning with the the voting. It was an all right episode for me. I'll say that. But I do have one little piece of trivia.
Okay.
Totem pole sculpture is indigenous to tribes to the Pacific Northwest, not interior tribes of the desert Southwest or Great Plains. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the totem came from and they just traveled.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Because that happened.
I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that. So,
before we get into the next episode here, are you done with trivia and all that stuff?
Yeah, I only had the one thing.
Just that one little thing right there. Okay, before we get into that, I want to read a quote from Grandpa Munsters, Sir Al Lewis, technically.
Was he knighted?
I said sir, not knight. Sir Knight. I guess sir. Yeah, shut up. Mr. Al Lewis. This came from a rally
Munster Al Lewis,
where Grandpa Al came to an outdoor rally in the support of Howard Stern when Howard Stern was being attacked for expletives, explicit cussing. And unmentionable other things to people's ears that weren't necessarily polite at the time when Howard Stern came out. And this is what Al Lewis had to say in support of Howard Stern. And I'm only saying this because I think it's funny.
Brace yourself, people.
He took to the mic and announced, "We're here because we have a purpose. And that purpose is to say, fuck the FCC, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them." And that was a quote directly from Al Lewis, Grandpa.
Between last week and this week, we're definitely earning an E soon.
An E?
For explicit.
Oh, we already have that.
Do we really?
I put that on there just in case, because if you say the F word anyways, you technically should say explicit.
Oh, okay. I thought that was granted by... All right.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Stern snatched the mic away from him and feared for the worst.
Even Stern was worried.
and the FCC declined to intervene. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say to that?
You really can't. You can't. And at that point, you could have just said, man. "Oh, yeah, exactly." At that point, you just be like, "Oh, it's a crazy old man."
They say the darndest things. I don't really want to watch that show.
Yeah. But this came from an article that I will be sharing. It will probably already be shared in the group and on Twitter by the time this episode comes out. So swing by and check that out if you haven't by then. All right, guys. Let's dive into episode what is it? 19,
season 2. The most beautiful ghoul in the world.
Dun dun dun.
Written by newcomer Ted Bergman, with Norm Leadman and Ed Haas involved as well. This is Ted's first writing credit. Like,
you're not even excited about those two anymore.
Well, I mean, they're involved in everything.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, this was Ted's first writing credit that he sold while still in college. He will return to write an episode of Munsters today. Okay. Other shows he has written on is the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, the Jonathan Winters Show, Sanford and Son, Sanford, and Give Me a Break. But was also made production manager of The Ropers, Three's Company, and Three's a Crowd. So he went on to have a long career after this.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, this is his first. So he wrote this and they picked this story up. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
And then they adapted it to the Munsters.
Potentially, yeah. Okay. It just says that this is his first writing credit, and they also said this was the first writing piece that he successfully sold to be made.
Okay. So it could have been something he meant for something else, or he might have just wrote it specifically for this and sold it to them. Cool. Yep. All right.
Ezra Stone is back as director. We have a couple of guests here. Mm-hmm. Alvia Allman as Mrs. Harkness, who many may remember as Elvira Bradshaw from Beverly Hillbillies, or Mother Frump in Halloween with the New Addams Family. But her most well-known role, which is a one-off, so it's kind of strange, but she was the candy factory foreman in the job switching episode of I Love Lucy. Everyone remembers her from that one episode.
That's the episode where they're on like the line,
conveyor
right?
belt, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone remembers that damn episode. So
yeah. We have Charles Lane as Mr. Holmes, Edgar Holmes. Maxwell, or he played Maxwell in the Phyllis Diller show, which ran from 66 to 67. He was Homer Bedloe in Petticoat Junction, which ran from 63 to 68. Foster Finney in the Beverly Hillbillies. Dale Bush in Karen, which was a TV show from 1975. Richard Welt in an episode of St. Elsewhere, which I wanted to bring this up because if anyone doesn't know about St. Elsewhere, that created the multiverse for TV, basically. Every TV show ever basically exists inside this child's mind on this show, just so you're aware. That is a thing that is now something that exists. What's that?
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. You should look it up. It blew my mind when I first heard about this.
Is it a show?
Yeah, it's St. Elsewhere.
It's a show where everything exists in the kid's mind as the show.
Yeah.
So does his show of him creating all these shows in his mind exist in his mind?
I believe that is the ending. Yeah. Yeah, it is a crazy, crazy show series, and you need to look this up because
when was that made?
1987 was when the episode aired.
Okay, so it's kind of like a Twilight thing.
Yeah, but Charles lived to be 102 and has over 370 film and TV credits under his belt. He would have so many roles in one day that often you would find him running between sets, in between being filmed, to quickly change into a new costume.
Yeah.
So he's another one that I strongly suggest people go and look at his list of like just stuff that he's in, because it's crazy. And then for the final three guests, we got Adele Clare as the secretary, Mary Mitchell as Dorothea Harkness, and Bob Hastings is back uncredited as the Raven.
Poor Bob.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we dive into the synopsis?
No.
All right. The most beautiful ghoul in the world. January 28th, 1966, as Tivis previously stated. The inheritance money from cousin Wolverine. Shing.
Yep.
Her, which is
I'm gonna get into that.
It's funny because he can't die. Anyways, with
I'm gonna get into that.
with inheritance money from cousin Wolverine, Herman and Grandpa develop an invention for transmitting wireless electricity, while Lily and Marilyn open their own beauty salon. Both endeavors turn out to be disasters.
All right.
Snick.
So we open with someone banging on the door as Herman goes to answer. It's the mailman. He used a similar retractable arm that they installed in the phone booth to give Herman to get Herman to sign for a package. And, he's getting a little friendlier with the family. And Herman even remarks this a little after I wrote this note to Lily, that he's no longer standing on the other side of the road, throwing the mail over the fence.
Yeah.
Which for letters, that's impressive. First off, he had to frisbee that crap,
We put them all together and tie the rock to it and just chucked it across.
Oh yeah, he could have done that. Would have been so much simpler. I would be a terrible postal worker.
You just don't. It's creativity, Tivis. You just gotta use creativity.
I'd be over there. Yeah.
Like Gambit. They're not going anywhere. They're just flying back at me.
That one went down the drain. That's going to come back at me.
That was their $10,000 check this week.
Yeah. So, yeah, they get a package. They're over by the organ, and it's from Transylvania. Mm-hmm. But Herman hears ticking inside and thinks it's a time bomb.
Oh, Lily, your damn family's trying to kill us again.
So Lily summons the rest of the family to all die together. And
wait, let's dive back first.
Yeah.
How many times has her family sent them bombs and shit?
Well, there's a remark coming up about that. But she's like, Herman, don't hold that. It's dangerous. And he's like, you're right. Hands it to her and then runs. And that's our cold opening. So that was a quick one.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the quickest cold opening that we've had so far. That
was a fun opening. Oh God. So we come back after the intro to Herman drowning the package in a bucket for 20 minutes. We don't see it for 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. So they can open it now. And Grandpa's like, well, maybe it's from Uncle Boris. He used to exchange bombs with Rasputin at Christmas time. So Herman's like, I don't hear any ticking. I'm going to open it by the light. And he goes over there near the clock. And he starts hearing the ticking again and starts freaking out. And Grandpa decides, hey, idiot, there's a clock right there. And the Raven comes out and makes fun of him, and it's a whole thing. We get a shot of Lily just like closing her eyes in shame, and I don't know if it's at Herman or her for believing him.
Yeah.
Eddie says,
how does soaking a bomb in water, though, stop anything?
It ruins the gears. I don't know. I'm not a bomb expert.
The gears? What if it's a chemical bomb?
Not the gears. The wiring. The gears. It's a clock bomb. The ticking. It needs a pendulum. You got to stop the pendulum.
Okay.
If you can't tell, I don't know what I'm talking about. Now you do.
Tell it to
so Eddie's like, just open the box already. So what's inside the box?
It is a scroll of Babylonian proportions. No. It's a scroll that reads in there that uncle or cousin Wolvie, has passed away again.
Yeah. Lily's like, wait, didn't Wolfie pass away 3 years ago? Herman's like, well, he's just done it again, which we already know isn't unusual for their family, the Dracula family.
Yeah. And then they find out in the letter that they are receiving a $10,000 inheritance from him. It's got to be a lot of nice money there from a person that you barely ever talk about or reference. seeing that you thought he had died and you didn't know he was alive again.
Yeah.
So, and we've gone over the things of $10,000, and that's a lot of money.
You know, if this well, I have the conversion if you want to hear it, but if this cousin turns out to have the nickname of Logan, I would not be shocked. So 10,000 when adjusted to 2022 is 90,214 and 81 cents.
Okay.
Yeah. So they get the money and they begin talking about what they want to do with it. And Grandpa's like, we should sink it into my invention. And Lily steps in before another fight can begin about, similar to the gold situation. And is like, no. We should use it for something good. I want to open my own business. And Marilyn,
they say that they could use and need this money, and they both want to just blow it.
Yeah. Well, and then Herman says has had a household and takes it from Lily, but then Lily takes it back from him immediately.
Yeah. And Grandpa's like shaking his head when Herman's like, as the head of the household, I'll be taking it. And Grandpa's like, damn straight.
Marilyn comes up with the great idea of just split it, 5,000 each, see who makes the best use of it. And I'm like, Marilyn, you have the mind for a game show host. I like where this is going.
Of the Munsters, you will each get $5,000, and by the end, we will see whose business is more lucrative. The winner will receive nothing because we gave you $5,000 already, and there's no more money at the end.
But Grandpa's okay with it, and Lily agrees. Herman apparently wants to assist with Grandpa this time, whose plan is to transmit electricity through the air without wires.
And
isn't that just lightning?
Isn't that just a Tesla coil?
Well, we'll talk about that in my trivia, but Lily mentions that she's opening a beauty parlor because she has a natural aptitude for that.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Lily has a parlor already.
Wait, wouldn't electricity through the airwaves just be? Oh no, that's telecommunications. Never mind.
I have it in my notes. We'll get into it. Let's get through this episode first.
Okay.
So yeah, in Lily's new beauty parlor, or her parlor, I should say. Not Herman's parlor.
Sherman's parlor.
We got two parlors now.
Well, it's literally called Lily's Beauty something or another.
I know, but it's a beauty parlor.
Yeah.
So we got the funeral parlor and the beauty parlor.
Why doesn't she work at the funeral parlor to do the makeup on the corpses? What?
Someone should suggest that to her. So, yeah, Marilyn's happy, helping her set up with all of the beauty secrets their family has been keeping over the years, including the same mud Cleopatra used for her complexion.
On both of her husbands. Or honeymoon.
Oh, 4. She had 4. Marilyn is excited to one-up the boys in the business world, and Lily says that won't be a problem. When they put their heads together, nothing happens. I mean, they did find a hidden pirate treasure in your backyard just a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, it was with the help of Eddie.
I mean, Grandpa did create the gas pill too, which they just made him not,
But what was that with Herman's help?
I don't recall.
Yeah, she's saying when they work together, it's chaos.
Yeah. I mean, Herman won the horse race because he thought he was working with Grandpa. or not.
Yeah, a lot
grade,
of their plans of pairing up don't actually go according to plan.
Yeah. And then they just made them get rid of the treasure they did find, because them working together after they found the treasure made them a bunch of hotheads and they didn't trust each other.
Yeah.
I guess they just don't work too good together.
No, not really.
Although they did find a whole nother room in their house. Now they can expand, blow out a few walls, Grandpa can take over.
That's just becoming part of the lab, and you know it. That's gonna be Grandpa's storage room
for his corpses.
Those are around the yard.
But there's no more yard now.
Speaking of the lab, Grandpa tells Herman that he's only an apprentice mad scientist, so I'll let you know when you can do something stupid. Herman's really skeptical about the idea of sending electricity through the air, but Grandpa says, look, I invented the way to send messages wirelessly through the air, didn't I? Herman's like, yeah, but then you went out of business when all the pigeons died. So, and Herman gets a nice little smirk on his face, which is priceless. I love every time he goads Grandpa.
Yeah.
So Grandpa's like, hand me those oscillators. Herman's like, you mean the egg beaters?
These
Grandpa's not like having it. No, those are oscillators. He's like, now hand me the spherical rectifiers. Herman just looks down at two bowling balls.
Old bowling balls. Old dusty bowling balls.
Grandpa's already fed up with Herman. And then Herman gets his finger stuck in the bowling ball as Grandpa tries to take him away. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth, by the way, this episode.
Yeah, they did back and forth from the parlor,
to the lab, to the... We're back at the parlor.
Yeah.
Where Marilyn lets Mrs. Harkness and her daughter Dorothea in. The ball of the season's coming up and they need something to stand out. All they need is to be beautiful, as they are already rich. Lily comes out and the daughter is really skeptical, but the mother is excited. Lily promises something new, something new and different, unique to them. And Mrs. Harkness says if she can guarantee that when they enter the ballroom, all heads will turn, they'll, have her business. And Lily says when she's done, people will not be able to believe their eyes. Back to the lab.
Yeah.
It's time for the first test. Herman, go stand over there with the light bulb.
Yeah, and Grandpa turns the machine on and the light bulb actually turns on. And then he's like, all right, put the light bulb down and grab the
I really enjoy Grandpa's scientific, using the scientific method, which for the most simple of boiling down is try it and see.
Herman's always his guinea pig.
Yep. Or since we've already said the F word today, fuck around and find out.
So Herman ends up grabbing the razor then next, because Grandpa says, grab the electric razor and we'll test that now. And it works. It turns on. And then Herman starts to shave himself as Grandpa's talking.
Like, why? He's like, why not? And Grandpa's like, all right, yeah, sure.
At first I thought maybe his electricity thing was working only because Herman was the conductor. I didn't think about anything. I didn't actually think his machine was really working outside of Herman helping it.
Oh boy, does it work. Cut back to the beauty parlor where Lily needs more toadstool base for Mrs. Harkness. Then Lily grabs a bunch of it and pours it into like a beaker with gloves on. And she's going to pour it on Mrs. Harkness' face.
As Lily walks into the other room with like an egg beater looking thing.
Yeah, she comes back with these giant like hair curlers that's been sitting in fire. And she goes into Dorothea's room and all we hear is screaming. And Lily's like, just get back in the chair and it won't hurt.
Yeah.
Good Lily, you're terrifying. Back to the lab for the next phase.
Then we go to the lab, and now Grandpa wants to see if they can get their machine to work any further. So he like hypercharges this thing. I'm not sure exactly what he has done to it differently. But then he makes it go full power. And full power, it goes haywire. Something pops out the back. And then you go to like the park. We jump to a park real quick, and we see the light posts all blow out on the light posts.
Yeah, the same shot from season 1. It looked like.
Yeah, and then the power plant blows up.
yeah.
And you flash back to Herman and Grandpa in the dungeon, all like smoky,
charred, and
yeah. And Herman has one of the egg beaters. I'm sorry. The what are they called?
Oscillators.
Oscillators in his mouth. And Grandpa just turns it while it's there, and he pops it out, and Fred is like, you can tell, or Herman's angry. And then at this point he says, Grandpa, I don't think, what's the exact words he says?
Your machine isn't ready for the market yet.
Yeah, your machine isn't ready for the market yet. And then he looks angry again after he says that. Like, he looks
Grandpa looks like he wants to kill him.
Yeah. So it's then we go back to the parlor,
which still has power somehow.
Maybe
they just destroyed the city power grid.
It runs off another grid,
I would hope so, because the hospitals and stuff. But so, yeah, at the parlor, Lily is ready to unveil the women. Mrs. Harkness comes out looking like a hag, and Dorothea kind of just looks overworked and stressed.
Yeah.
When the ladies turn to look at each other, they immediately pass out. And Marilyn is taking this as not a great start for the company.
I thought Dorothea looked better with like the curly locks and everything like that. I thought she looked.
It was
better.
Like all over the place. Like she's had a rough day.
It just seemed like a really, I guess for that time period, I guess, they didn't do hair necessarily like that in the 60s.
Even our time period, it looked like someone stressed to the end of their rope.
Oh, that's totally like a 2000s hairdo, dude. For girls with curly hair. Yeah.
That's not a hairdo I've ever seen on anyone in a good state of mind.
Since we're going here.
I was old 9.
We're 9 in 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I mean, my mom's always had that hair, but she's a single mom, so. Well, she was, I should say. My stepdad came along when I was. Yeah. When did he come along? Well, anyway.
I thought that she looked better with the curly locks and stuff, how they did it. But yeah, though, the mom, Miss Harkness, looked like Bride of Frankenstein meets like I don't know, a swamp or something.
I got trivia for that as well. Now we're cutting to Edgar Z. Holmes, attorney at law's office. The secretary comes in. 2 women claiming to be his best clients are there. And Edgar's like, well, why didn't you see them in? Don't you know who they are? She's like, you'll see.
So they're supposedly his best clients. Does that mean that they sue people a lot?
Well, they're rich, don't you know?
So they're Karens.
Yeah.
Because they're always complaining about something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This is the early
No offense
Karen.
to anybody out there whose actual name is Karen, by the way.
I am so sorry for what society has done to your name.
Yes.
So I just started talking loudly and the cat freaked out and scratched me. So Edgar begins to greet them, but stops upon seeing their faces, screams for help, jumps on his desk. And Mrs. Harkness is like, will you calm down? And he's like, what happened? And I just came from a beauty parlor. And he immediately, without any other sentence, says, well, we'll have no trouble suing and probably sending them to jail for this transgression.
We have enough proof right here.
Yeah. Mrs. Harkness seems extremely happy with the news, and she's like, I could kiss you. In fact, I will. He jumps back on the desk and starts screaming again. And she once again's like, will you calm down and listen to the facts of the case?
Right.
Oh. Cut to Lily reading a notice.
Yep. She was served already with papers saying, hey, fix this shit or we're suing you.
Yep.
And that's basically it. And she's like, well, crap.
Marilyn is sad that the boys are doing much better than them. Where is Eddie? We haven't seen him since they opened the box.
Open the box?
The beginning of the episode.
In the beginning of the episode of the morning? I mean...
Was this an off day for...
Had to be. I mean, he doesn't need to be in the story, so...
Yeah, you could have him like in the background still. I mean, that's what Marilyn's job is most episodes.
Ooh, don't say that. You're going to piss a lot of people off.
It's the truth. They underutilize her.
Ooh. They started using her more, though.
This episode, I am so happy she's like in the forefront.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even kidding. I am very unhappy with how little stories we're getting of her.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll get more Munsters content in the future and we'll see even more Marilyn usage. So
yeah, hopefully we see her in the movie.
We'll see. So then we go.
Grandpa's on the phone call. What's the phone call about?
They're talking to the city. Apparently they're going to get fined, sued, possibly jailed for what they did. How the hell does the city know that they're responsible?
Apparently they trace them, according to Grandpa.
That's not no.
Also, they're the cause of most problems with the city.
Basically, Grandpa created a massive EMP, and
Grandpa created a laser, is what he did.
The military should be like contacting Grandpa to use his EMP on, everybody.
But what do they have to do to not get in trouble?
It to fix everything, right?
They only have to pay $1,000. Only $1,000 for causing an entire power plant to explode.
Maybe it was a cheap power plant.
Look, Herman is very distressed during all this, and I have to say, this is probably the worst acting I've seen from Fred in this entire show. Like, he did not deliver his lines believable at all during this.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder, is this at the end of a long day where he's getting sick of his prosthetics? But now we're back at the beauty parlor. Mrs. Harkness is getting confirmation that they can restore her looks. And Lily says, oh, yeah, if that's how you really want to look, there's nothing, we can do about it. And Marilyn is ready to apply the neutralizer. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, at the lab,
the two dumbasses are jackasses, as Grandpa would say, are trying to do short term now. They're going to just mess with Lily's parlor and turn the lights on and off, as Grandpa says. And they start the machine up. And then we go back to the parlor where the lights are flickering on and off, but so are the machines, the hair machines, the hair dryers. And they do this for back and forth for a couple minutes here. Well, not a couple minutes, but like in their time, for a few seconds for us, probably half a minute or so of the lights flickering and the machines going blah, 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 blah. Then they're like, all right, it's up. let's look at your hair. Let's see what happened. Let's go. Let's look at it. They lifted up, and what happened, Tivis?
They have bald caps on.
Yeah, both ladies ended up bald. The machines took all their hair off, and they are freaked out even more this time. Their beauty is back in their faces or whatnot. That stuff worked.
I love how they had towels hiding their faces to hide the fact they already took the makeup off.
I think that was supposed to be like the formula was on the towel, and
I know, but it's
so long.
Like you could tell behind it. It was just, yeah,
you could tell, but it was nice that they did something. You know, they spent all their money already, Tivis. They had to make all those logos for the hair salon.
I love when they first remove the towels, though, before we see the hair result. Lily takes one look at Mrs. Harkness, is like, ugh, how normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the women scream and run around and they like start bickering with each other. They look at Lily as, what do you do about, or what do you have to say about this? And she's like, how will you be paying?
And then
back to
off, and they go, go on. They run off.
Yeah, back to Edgar's office. Edgar greets them, stops upon seeing their bald head, then excuses himself for a second as he goes into his closet and bangs the door on his head for some reason. He must be having a hell of a day. He then asks if the gentleman wants some cigars before Miss Harkness gives him a death stare and rants about Lily.
Yeah, and then we get another letter of intent to sue now for $10,000.
Yeah, and the whole family's there minus Eddie.
Yep. Well, so the whole, that's not the whole family then.
That's why I said minus Eddie.
Okay.
So, Herman begins telling her, well, I knew this was a bad idea, letting you run your own business. Like, Herman, stop right there. Stop right there. Grandpa's like, this happened yesterday? And Marilyn's like, yeah, around 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa gets a look on his face. He knows.
Oh, yeah.
Herman goes on a rant about how Lily fritted away her share of the money. And then he says fritted like a ton before saying that exactly 3:30 the day before, they have perfected Grandpa's machine by turning it on her parlor. And Lily begins making the connection herself.
And Herman just should have shut up.
Yeah, Herman continues on, and Grandpa comes over and he's like, he tries to help Herman. He's like, Herman, they had a problem at 3:30 yesterday. We used our machine on their parlor while this was happening at 3:30 yesterday.
Mm.
Lily's like, is this true, Herman? Herman begins to say that it couldn't have been. No, we didn't. That's not possible. It's all Grandpa's fault.
He did it.
Yeah, he throws Grandpa under the bus. Oh.
And then we get a knock on the door here.
Yeah.
And they think it's the police.
Yeah.
And Grandpa and Herman run away, and Lily and Marilyn.
First, Lily and Marilyn go answer the door. After they leave the room, Herman goes to Grandpa. He's like, let's go hide in the cellar. And Grandpa's like, I'll be right behind you, you chicken. Because he's still unhappy that Herman just threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
So they run for the trap door.
Hey, you lost?
Where am I? I lost myself. I lost my place. This is a real long paragraph for me.
Who did you just say ran to the trapdoor? I'm sorry.
Grandpa and Herman.
Yeah, so we're at the door now where
yes,
Lily and Marilyn answer the door.
I should not have made that paragraph so long in my notes.
And then Lily and Marilyn answer the door to the two ladies, to the Harkness or Harkness,
Mrs. Harkness
ladies.
and Dorothea.
Yeah.
They have some luscious locks of hair.
Super beautiful hair. And they are like, you're a genius. Your machine worked. Whatever you did, you know.
Our hair grew back overnight better than before.
Yeah. Your process is genius. And we'd like to invest.
Yeah. We spoke to our lawyer. Not only are we no longer suing you, we want to finance you.
Yeah.
And the girls are like, oh my God, we're going to make millions. And the women the Dorothy is like, that's right, because no one can be too rich.
Yeah.
I have words, Dorothea, but I'll wait for the trivia. So they rush to tell Herman and Grandpa the good news as the boys come up from the basement saying, you don't need to worry about it anymore. The evidence is gone. We have destroyed the machine.
Oh, but we could have made millions.
And Lily's devastated.
He did it. He did it. He did it. To Grandpa. Blaming Grandpa again.
And then he begins slapping Grandpa, and the girls just shut the trap door on both of them.
Yeah.
Now we got Grandpa in the lab with his machine taped back together. And he's like, I've gotten all the bugs out now. It's time to test it, Herman. Go stand over there. I'm going to make you grow hair.
We'll give you a luscious head of hair, he says.
I'm like, it wasn't the machine that made it grow hair. It was the combination of that and the hair thing.
Yeah.
So he begins trying to grow hair on Herman. Herman feels nothing. So Grandpa turns up the juice. Still nothing. Grandpa turns it up to full blast. He's like, there's enough current flowing through this machine to grow hair on a bowling ball. And Herman's like, yeah, that's what's happening.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep. The bowling balls that Grandpa used for his machine are growing
hair,
long hair, and beards.
Yep.
Grandpa claims that he's ruined, and Herman goes, well, look at the bright side. If we could find a market for hairy bowling balls, we can make a fortune. Always looking on the bright side of life, Herman.
I'm sure there's some market out there for hairy bowling balls.
Someone's going to find that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer's gift, isn't it? Hairy bowling balls.
No, I enjoyed this one quite a bit, actually. I like the back and forth. I love that Marilyn got more of a spotlight that didn't involve her getting a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And Fred and Al together is always a blast. So I like, aside from Eddie just going missing, this hit like almost all of my checklist for what I want in an episode.
Yeah. Was it me, or was both of these episodes, did they seem really fast?
They did. They were both 25 minutes though, so that was pretty standard.
They're still standard time, but they felt a lot faster than most of the episodes have.
The pace was definitely picked up, especially bouncing back and forth.
Yeah. For both of them too, they bounced back and forth from scene to scene, which was nice. So I guess that helps speed up the process too of watching the episode. And then you're just like, by the time it's over, you're like, wait, where's the episode? I want more. Give me more. Yeah. Anyways, I enjoyed this episode too. Out of the two episodes though, I did like the first one a lot more. But this episode was really cool because, like you said, we get to see more Marilyn's story, especially from the last episode where Marilyn dipped off. She was at the beginning and then she dipped out, just like Eddie was here. So maybe they got off days.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might have been her off day that day.
So,
because I know I know we mentioned this early on in our series, but that's how they did it back then. When you got a vacation day, you like just were written off an episode for some reason.
Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate the episode. It was cool to see Lily is continuing what we have seen her want to do, is run a business, work, do something. I don't think she's going to keep the salon to this. I don't think it. I really just don't think she's keeping it.
No.
Unless her next clientele is like Elvira.
Or Zombo, which brings us to our trivia.
Dun, dun, dun.
The makeup that was on Mrs. Harkness, that was the very same look they gave Zombo in a future episode.
Yep. Yeah.
So still looking forward to meeting him. No idea when it's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to it.
Coming up. It's coming up.
The title of this one is a parody of The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, a 1935 song from Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart's musical Jumbo.
Okay.
Dorothea was named from the Greek word meaning God's gift. So they really went all out with this rich, snobby family.
Rich can't get richer, or you can't get too rich.
Yeah, you can't get too rich. So Herman mentions Moon Maid, the fictional character who was a major player in the Dick Tracy comic strip at one point. She married Junior, Dick's adopted son, and gave birth to a girl they named Honeymoon at some point in space between the Earth and the Moon. So that comic strip went all over the place.
Okay.
And my final thing of trivia is Grandpa's invention is a real thing. Wireless energy transmission, or WET, also known as short-range inductive power transfer, is widely used with commercial products such as electric toothbrushes, shavers, and mobile and handheld wireless devices. It's not efficient for long-range power transmission, though. Basically, if you have a wireless phone charger, that's what this is.
It's like one of the things that you sit on.
Yep.
Pads and stuff. Gotcha.
So it doesn't quite work like how Grandpa uses it in the episode, but it is real.
That's cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Is that all the trivia you got for us then?
That's all I got.
All right. Do you want to head out of here since we are an hour and 40 something in already?
Oh, wow. This is a long one.
Yeah, I don't really know what we talked about. Oh, we got off track a little bit. So it's
not a couple times. Yeah.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And again, you can find us on all the socials at TheMunsterCast. And definitely email us your thoughts on the first episode we talked about.
Any episode we've talked about.
Yes, definitely any episode we've talked about. Or if you want us to answer some questions or have some like cool trivia yourself that we have yet to discuss from episodes that we've already discussed anyways.
And I don't know if we've asked this before, but if you have ever worked on any of the movies or any of the shows, we would love to talk to you in any capacity.
Yeah.
Contact us. We would love to get you on here to talk to you about, your experience and time on there.
Yeah, definitely. And you can email us all at TheMunsterCast@outlook.com, guys. And again, we appreciate everybody listening, and we hope we haven't driven a bunch of people off with just, stupid things that we say sometimes. They're all in jest, just so you remember that. I did share that article as we were recording, so that article is up that I pulled.
Yeah, I got the notification from Twitter.
So hopefully everybody has enjoyed that or will enjoy it when they listen to this and go back to it. That is on Twitter. And with that said, Tivis, you got any final words for us today, man?
Don't arm wrestle a Dracula.
Wise words. Wise words. Okay. With that said, guys, we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.